finally remembered to have a pen with me down there because some of these lyrics are worth repeating. Maybe not right now. Well, this whole idea of love letters to God and wondering if she reads them. Like, have you ever felt that way? You're going through something and you're pouring your heart out, maybe in your meditation, maybe in your prayer, maybe to somebody. You wonder, does anybody hear? Can anybody hear what I'm saying? Does anybody connect? That's what I was thinking about anyway. And it's a great segue really to this message that I want to end up with in this series that I've been doing, that we've been doing together, called based on the Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And we've been on quite a journey, I think. Anybody else think? Some of you have been here for most of it, all of it, some of it, part of it. Maybe you've listened online on YouTube. This is the place where hopefully we're bringing it all together, and I'm hoping to bring it all together because it has been quite a journey. It's been a journey really to understand who we are, and a journey to understand maybe a little bit more how life works, who we are and how life works, because what we've learned along the way is that we are not our body, that we are not that voice inside our head, that we are not the stories we tell ourselves, we are not the things we make up in our mind. We are the one behind. We are the one who notices those things. We are the one who is the observer. We've been asked to take that witness seat, that place in ourselves that is consciousness, the place behind it all, and to recognize that events happen in our life, things happen in our life, but we are not that. And that when we are at our best, that event happens and it comes to us and it flows through us. Those events are energy, and that energy comes to us and flows through us. And we only let it get stuck when it gets stuck on our BS, which is our belief system. We all have these belief systems, these structures in ourselves that we've created, these models, Michael Singer calls it. These things, we've taken a little bit of the stuff out here and we've created this model in ourselves about the way things should be. And this is the way things should be, and this is how things should be. And when something hits that model that's different than that, we suffer. We suffer. We're angry, we're frustrated, we're mad, we're hurt, because it didn't fit what our model said should be. And that's what we've been learning about. But there's one antidote to the whole thing. There's one antidote to all of that, and that is simply to let it go. To let that energy of the event, or the person, or the activity, or the words sometimes of a person, to let that come, have that experience, and let it move through us. To let it go. Now let me be clear, letting it go doesn't mean that it didn't happen, or that it wasn't hurtful, or that it isn't worth being angry over. It simply means that I'm not going to hold it in myself anymore. I'm not going to let it get stuck in me. I'm not going to let it get stuck in me. Because what happens is that it prevents us from being exquisitely in the next moment. We're carrying this thing around, and we spend all this time and this energy holding on to it or resisting it, and it affects the rest of our life. That's what happens. What we are called to do with letting it go is to be able to be free. Is to be able to be free from that energy so we can engage passionately and we can engage powerfully in the moment without that baggage, without that energy that's holding us back. That's what we've been learning about. Remember, the quote was last week, or a few weeks ago maybe. Do you want to be happy from this point forward for the rest of your life, regardless of what happens? Regardless of what happens, you see. Those conditions we put on our happiness are the things getting stuck, the things hitting our model. But that's really what it's about. Do I want to be happy for the rest of my life, no matter what happens? Because we can be, we have the power to do that by allowing things to move through us and not getting stuck. So what else is, and he's given us actually a very simple way to practice this, by the way. And you had that practice here, and I hope you've been practicing it, and it is simply this. You'll know when something's stuck in you, when it's hit you, and it's not part of your model, if your heart closes. We've practiced that here, right? Something comes up, think about yourself reading anything on Facebook or on the internet or anything that you disagree with, and your heart goes, that's what happens. We close our heart. And so to practice being open, to practice letting energy move, we simply need to never close our heart. That's the practice. Have you been practicing? Have you been noticing? Because you're the one that notices it back here. And you can decide to keep your heart open or to close your heart. That's your choice. That's the practice. So where is the motivation to do that? You're like, well, why does it make any difference? Well, what's that about? Why does it care? If I close my heart, I just disagree with it, and that's just the way it is. So I want to try to give you a little motivation as we close out this series. Listen to this. It is truly a great cosmic paradox that the one of the best teachers in all of life turns out to be death. The mere possibility of death has the power to teach us at any moment. A wise person realizes that at any moment they may breathe out, and that breath may not come back in. It could happen any time, in any place, and your last breath is gone. Anytime you're having trouble with something, think of death. Now lock the door, because people are going to want to leave, because they're saying, oh God, she's talking about death. I don't want to talk about death. I don't want to hear about death. I want to go on my merry way. I don't need to talk about death. And that's the problem, is we don't think about it. We just traipse around the world as if we're never going to die. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Because it comes to us in some form. And unless it's straight away in front of us, we don't want to deal with it, do we? Unless it actually comes up and we have to deal with it and there's no other choice, we don't want any part of it. Listen to this. Let's say you're living life without the thought of death. And the angel of death comes to you and says, all right, it's time to go. And you say, but no, you're supposed to give me a warning so I can decide what I want to do with the last week of my life. I'm supposed to get one more week. Do you know what that death will tell you? He'll say, my God, I gave you 52 weeks this past year alone. And all the other weeks I've given you, why would you need just one more? What did you do with all of those? If asked that, what are you going to say? How would you answer that? Well, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't think it mattered. Well, that's a pretty amazing thing to say about your life, isn't it? I didn't think it mattered. Wow. You see, death is the great teacher. Why aren't we living as if it's the last week of our life? Why aren't we living boldly? Why aren't we living that way? Why aren't we living and talking kindly and making every moment as if it's our last? Why can't we do that? Why shouldn't we be doing that? Why shouldn't we let death be a great advisor to us? Not a morbid thing, not a oh my God thing, but saying, yeah, you know what? It's coming. Today we're another day closer than we were yesterday, all of us. Death is the great equalizer. Thank you. I was like, what did you say? It's the great equalizer. We're all the same. We're another day closer today, and we'll be another day closer tomorrow if we wake up. It's the truth. So why can't we use it? Use it to help us. Use it as a motivator to be what we want to be. To be not afraid of it, but to be greater for it. Like I said, to be kinder, to be more kind, to be more passionate, to listen to our inner voice that says, yes, yes, move on. Why are we so caught up in the other BS? Not the belief system, but the other stuff. Like, this is the one life we have. This is it. Death is the great equalizer. That's the truth. We don't need to get uptight about death. We need to use it. We need to use it. Every one of life's experiences is different, and every experience is worth having. Do you believe that about your life? Think about all the experiences you've had and you are having now. Every one is different, and every one is worth having. Life is not something to waste. It's truly precious. That's what death teaches us. For God's sake, don't be afraid of death. Learn what it's trying to say to you. Learn what it's trying to say to us. The wise person realizes that death is constantly giving them something. It's giving you meaning for your life. It has that gift to give you, if you look at it that way. You're the one who throws your life away, he says. You waste it. We waste it. Oh, how many hours did I spend playing wordscapes on my little personal computer thing? Is that really what I want to do with my life? I waste it. You get in your car, you drive from here to there, and you don't see anything. You're not even there. You're busy thinking about what you're going to do next. You're a month ahead of yourself, or a year. You're not living your life. You're living in your mind. So it is we who throws away life. Death doesn't do that. Death actually can help us get our life back by paying attention. It makes you say, my God, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose my children. This could be the last time I see them. From now on, I'm going to pay attention to them and to my spouse and to my friends and my loved ones. I want to get more out of life. That's what death can do for us. Yeah, it's not a morbid thing. We can use it to become fully alive, because death changes everything. You know, I was remembering as I was preparing this lesson when my first cat, Sam, died. And Sam was only 10, and he was this big cat. He was a lover boy. I loved that cat. He had diabetes. He had all sorts of problems, which is why he died at a cat age of 10. We used to have to give him insulin shots twice a day. He never flinched. The cats we have now, oh my God, it would be an act of Congress to even, I mean, it just wouldn't happen. I loved Sam. And I remembered after Sam died that I remember exactly where I was. I was in my car, and I was driving up Independence, right near the mall. And I was in my car, and I was looking at the trees and the sky and the people, and I was looking at them differently because I had that loss that I was thinking about. Like the world was different. And that's an animal, I know, but it was different to me. I felt different for that moment. Some of you had that experience. Death changes everything. It makes every time I put that needle in Sam special. It really does. So we don't need to be afraid of death. We need to let it encourage us to get out of our drama and our pettiness and our indifference. And we need to let it encourage us to be greater than we've ever been. So where do we go from there? It's like, well, we've covered the gamut, right? We've gone for all of this book, and now we've ended with death. What else could there be? What else could there be? Well, what's left is something more. And this something more has to do with all this work that I've been talking about for you doing. Noticing your heart, letting death be your motivator, noticing that, taking that seat in the witness seat and realizing that that's not who I am, is this stuff out here that I'm the one who notices. All this has a sweet fruit to bear. And the sweet fruit that we bear when we're in these practices is to actually know God. Is to actually have the experience of God. Like I mentioned briefly in my opening comments, you are not going to learn about God by listening to me tell you. You are not going to read a book that tells you about God and you'll understand God. That's not going to happen. You will know God when you experience God. When you have the experience of love coursing through you. And here's the other thing about God that I believe, that we will not find God by reaching for God, by out here trying to find God somewhere, by begging. That's not going to happen. We will find God by surrendering. We will find God by surrendering. One of the most powerful things that ever happened in my life happened after I had finished my treatments for cancer back in 1994. It's still as fresh today, this story, as it was back in probably 1995. And I had gone through all the treatments, had surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, the whole shebang, and got my clean bill of health. You are now cancer-free. And at the time, I was raised Catholic, and I hadn't been going to church, but I was feeling that gap in my life, that I didn't have this spiritual underpinning that I wanted. So I started attending a Catholic church that was nearby, and they were having a healing night. And I thought, well, I never heard about a Catholic church having a healing night, so I thought that was very interesting. And my friends, this older couple that I would sit with when I would go to Mass, they were probably in their 80s, and they said, you should come, you should come. Why don't you come? We're going to be there, you should come. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go. So I went to the service, and I sat in the back. I know how you guys sit in the back sometimes because you want to make sure, just in case you need to leave, like if she starts talking about death too much. So I sat in the back just in case I needed to sneak out. And I saw what was happening, and people were going up. There was a priest who was very tall, and there was another person there, and people were going up to them, and they were doing whatever they were doing, praying or whatever, and then some of them were falling over. Have you ever been to one of those kind of healing service? And I thought, well, that's very interesting, right? I said, well, if I go up there, I'm not falling over. That's not going to happen to me. I don't know what that's about, but I'm glad somebody's there to catch them. So I got up the courage at that time to go forward. And I did end up going to this priest. He must have been he was just, what I recall, he was very tall, very tall. And he said, how do you want me to pray with you? And I said, I just want to know that I'm healed. And that's what I wanted to know. I mean, I had the medical thing that said I was healed. So I just want to know that I'm healed. And he took my face in his hands. So he's like this. Took my face in his hands. And he said, you already know. And bam, I was on the floor. It was done. That's all I remember. I was on the floor. I was done. That is the power of God, my friends. That is the power of God. That is the power of surrendering. That is the power of God in me. That is the experience of God. I still get goosebumps right now. That was the experience of God for me. I had no say in it. It was the vibration and power of God in the universe. And once I came to, I hurried up and got my stuff and went to the back. Because at that time I couldn't process that. I didn't understand it. It made me a little bit afraid and embarrassed. Believe that? Embarrassed because God moving through me? Oh. Wow. That's how important it is to trust and relax and surrender. Those are some of the most powerful things that you can do, that I can do, is to trust, to relax, and surrender. In today's world, those words don't come up much in the boardroom. Not much up in the business world. But they are the most powerful, because you know what happens when we trust and we relax and we surrender? We unleash the power of love. We unleash the power of love through us. God is love through us. We unleash that. We let it out. That's the power we have by moving aside, by doing this work, by being open, by trusting the divine to do its work. Not because of anything we've done, not because we think we deserve it or not deserve it. It hadn't had anything to do with that. It's simply moving out of the way and unleashing love. That's what Jesus did when he was here. He did it all the time. All those miracles in the Bible, what was he doing? He was simply unleashing love. You know what he called love? The Father. He said, everything from the Father through me. Well, of course, he was unleashing love. He was unleashing it all the time. That's what he did. When the people were gathering to say, we need to kill this woman because she was caught in adultery and they were ready to stone her, what did he say? He didn't judge them. He unleashed love. He simply said, you know what? If you've made the person that has the first sin, has sinned, you throw the first stone. The person who has never made an error in their life, you throw the first stone. That was love unleashed. That wasn't judging the stone thrower or the one that was about to be stoned. When he was hanging on the cross, what did he say? He said, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. He said, Father, forgive them. He called on love to come through him, to say, you know what, it's okay. He unleashed love. He unleashed love when he told the thief next to him, said, oh, you'll be in heaven with me. And some of us were like, well, how did he get there so easy? No, he unleashed love. He unleashed that. He knew that. He knew that. And he also knew that the way to get there was to forgive, to clear out that stuff, to let those events go through it. Because he said, how many times do you have to forgive? 7 times 70. In other words, as many times as it takes to clear it out. And let me tell you, we each can do that same thing. Because he told us, you will do the things I do and greater works than these. He was simply saying, listen, I'm the example. I'm the great example for you. I want to let you know what's possible. And we can unleash that in us. It's possible. We can do it. It is who we are. Truly. So what about this God? What is God? Let me just close with this. Your relationship with God, with love, is the same as your relationship with the sun. If you hid from the sun for years and then chose to come out of your darkness, the sun would still be shining as if you had never left. You don't need to apologize. You just pick up your head and look at the sun. It's the same way when you decide to turn toward God. When you decide to unleash love, you just do it. You cannot offend the divine. You cannot offend love. Its very nature is love itself. It is light, it is passion and compassion. It is caring, it is giving, it is protection, it is all that. You can't make it stop loving you. You can't make it stop. It's impossible. You can't make the sun stop shining on you. You can only choose not to look at it. The moment you look at it, it will still be there. Ecstasy is the only thing God knows. Ecstasy is the only thing God knows. You unleashing the God of your being. Wow. As we go into meditation today, I want you to take those ideas into your very being. To consider how it's possible for you to unleash that love, to know God by unleashing that very God through your being. In this moment, I love you all so much. I feel that love for you. I believe what I told you. And it's up to you if you believe it. So let's breathe in and out. Please take a cushion if you want, if you wish to sit. Simply breathe in and breathe out. Relax. Trust. Surrender yourself to yourself. For these moments in meditation.
away from it all. Float away from it all.
Know the true nature of your beloved. In his loving eyes, your every thought, word, and movement is always, always beautiful.